So many families were growing berries, it had been decided to give the children their vacation in the 3 winter months, the strawberry season, so they could pick berries. Throughout the strawberry area, the schools were soon to become known as strawberry schools. Continuing my read through the Newbery Award winners, today we have Strawberry Girl by Lois Lenski. It was published in 1945 and won the award in 1946. Lois Lenski was born in 1893 in Springfield, Ohio, and when she was 6, her family moved to the very small town of Anna, Ohio. Her father was a Lutheran minister and tended to be pretty strict with his family, but the small town atmosphere gave her the chance to have freedom to run around outside, visit other people, and there was a real sense of community that she thrived in. Lenski got her teaching degree from Ohio State University, but quickly realized that art instead of writing was her true passion. Her father strongly objected and refused to support her when she moved to New York to attend the Art Students League. She ended up illustrating Christmas cards and place cards as a way to support herself while she was studying there, going to school part-time. After she graduated from there, she spent a year in Italy and London, and then moved back to the United States, where she began to get commissions for book illustrations. After she married and had her son, she was inspired by him and his friends and ended up writing children's books herself. Her health began to deteriorate, and she and her family would visit various places in the South during the winter. That's where she started to connect to all of these different diverse groups and people that she encountered there. She took notes, drew pictures, and she used those to write various children's books to introduce children to some of the different groups of people that make up the American landscape. She really wanted to faithfully represent those people and their history, and one result was Strawberry Girl. She also had 2 other similar books that got the Newbery honor. So Strawberry Girl is technically about the Strawberry Girl, about Birdie, but it's also about the community of people that were known as the Florida Crackers. This group of people that traveled to Florida for a better life when a lot of people were moving west. Birdie and her family move into this community and almost immediately find themselves at odds with their closest neighbors, the Slaters. They bring a lot of ideas about housekeeping, about farming, about livestock care that is at odds with the kind of day-to-day, hand-to-mouth life that especially their nearest neighbors are living. So they plan to grow oranges and strawberries in order to sell them rather than just growing crops for themselves. They feed and house their livestock instead of just letting them roam free and hoping that they don't get eaten or die. This creates a lot of conflict, particularly between the men, especially when Birdie's father fences off his land, which blocks the fastest route to water for their neighbors' cattle. So this opens a whole feud that really impacts the whole family. This book looks very sweet from the cover, but it actually has a lot of anger and violence and some pretty rough content. Birdie just wants to go to school and make friends, but is blocked at every opportunity. The oldest Slater boys come to school and beat up the teacher and basically scare him off, and school gets canceled for a while. Birdie wants to be friends with a couple of the Slater girls, but they are very standoffish and a little scared of making friends with her when their fathers are essentially enemies. And some of the other girls in the neighborhood aren't as friendly either because they are transplants. They accuse them of being Yankees coming down from the north and kind of taking in, even though they were coming from North Carolina, so not super north. And there's a lot of prejudice and animosity, and the feud in particular gets pretty dark. So some spoilers for that. There's an animal that gets poisoned and dies. There's a fire that is intentionally set. There is a couple of physical altercations. The women, and particularly Mrs. Boyer, really shine because she is unfailingly kind and forgiving and really tries to help push everybody else in the story to have a better response to what's going on, seeing the literal fighting fire with fire and how it's just going to destroy everyone. And her small acts of perpetual kindness really end up kind of saving the day. In addition, Mr. Slater is drunk a great part of the time and is neglectful of his family, if not outright abusive. So there are a lot of really heavy things that are handled here, and some things that are depicted in a way that might be disturbing to some younger readers. We are seeing this through Birdie's eyes, so you get a little bit of a lens of that, but it also doesn't sugarcoat kind of what's really going on. And the ending feels a bit fast and pat. And I say that as somebody who fully believes in the power of God to transform someone's life, but in the way it plays out in the story, it just feels a little like fast. I think this is a really important book showing a snapshot of American culture and history that I feel like has pretty much been forgotten. I certainly hadn't heard of this group of people who had traveled and settled down in Florida as opposed to going west. You hear a lot about the western expansion, but there was the southern expansion as well. And it really gives an evocative snapshot of this group of people, the way that neighbors came together and supported each other, but also had conflict, and the development of a more sustainable agrarian society with growing crops not just to feed yourself, but also to begin to export things that grew better in the South up into the northern parts of the country. So I do think that it is an important cultural snapshot. I'm just not sure that it holds up very well as a children's book now. But I am glad that I read it. I love Lois Lenski's illustrations, and I picked it up and I recognized her name because she has illustrated a lot of different books. I appreciate it from that historical perspective, but it's not something that I would read again or recommend broadly, particularly in regards to a lot of the violence that takes place. Next up, we have Miss Hickory by Carolyn Sherwin Bailey. Thanks and happy reading!